churches. She's worked and served the community since 1989. You have to really commend this lady for that. She's an African who has championed who are in this community through her work as an urban planner, setting vision for Maryland and parts of the country for 23 years. She actually ran for office last year. And she won.
Yes.
Give it up for girl power.
Yes.
She's an African leader. She ran for office for the Prince George's County Council, District 6. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ms. Christine Osei.
Thank you, Lynette. Hello, everybody. How are you doing? Thank you, Sylvester. Thank you, David. My son's name is David. It's a special name. You're special. I really thank Sylvester. I met him in 2008. I met him in 2010. We connected, our visions connected. What he sees to happen in Africa, the voice of Africa, we linked. And ever since, we've been connected. We stay hard on each other. We love Africa. We want to advertise Africa. We want to keep the voice of Africa. And so we have a vision that has merged. And so when I ran for office, which was a way of waving my hand and saying, hello, Africa is here. And we're here to stay. We're here to make changes. This is home for us. Our children are here. Our history must be written by us. Our children need to know that we were here and know what we did while we were here. I have 3 children, 25, 23, and 20. They're all college kids. They registered to vote when they were 15, when they got the driver's permit. They have been involved in everything I do. I've worked on every campaign that has been in my county. All my state senators and delegates, I work for them. I was elected as a homeowner association president twice. I'm on my board. I have been involved from the beginning. As an African woman, I'm not sure how I speak, how I have an accent. I'm not. I was the only black African woman in my planning office for 10 years.
Yes.
Urban planning is not a field that is common to African women. I was the only one in the planning department. I would present, people would look at me and say, oh, where are you from? Before I say, well, oh, where are you from? I said, no, can I finish first? I'll tell you later. Because where am I from should not be the conversation. What I do is the conversation. What I bring on the table should be the conversation. I went to college, I'm educated, I have a master's degree, I'm an urban planner. I don't need to tell her where I'm from, I can tell her what I can do. And that's what I have stayed within my job. I have taken the accent and made it for them to understand me. Because I don't have to understand them while they cannot understand me. And I say, no, I will change nothing. I will keep being who I am. And that's what I've been for 23 years. This is a political rally for the president. When I first came to the country in 1982, I was hungry to get involved. One of my classmates is sitting here, Mr. Ayon. We were in secondary school together. I was elected as a senior girls prefect.
Yes.
And when he saw me run, he said, you have not given that up, have you? And I said, no, it was born in me. Wherever I go, I am active. My neighbors know me. I get everybody's name. I get their email. I call them. I send an email to them. So I am here to tell you, we can make it. Forget about your accent. Let them understand you. If you understand them, they can understand you. And based on that, if I can understand you, you can understand me. Just listen to what I have to say. Don't ask me where I'm from. Listen to me first. You get to know where I'm from. Because I have a lot to offer. I have a lot to offer. I told people in my neighborhood, this is my home. I'm not going anywhere. When I ran for office, the first thing debate, they told me, oh, international families don't last in Prince George's County. I said, what are you talking about? I've been here for 23 years. You think I'm going anywhere?
No.
So this is the message we have to carry ourselves. We have to market ourselves. We have to get involved. David, you could not have said more. Sylvester, you could have set a best example. We have to market ourselves. My sister Julian, awesome. We have to stand up and market ourselves. This is home to us. I just have to say say that to get into what I'm here to talk about, Black History Month. We are standing on the heels of slaves who came to this country and paved the way for us to get to where I am. I'm in a planning office. There are minority programs that I didn't write them. The black folks who were here, they were written for them. I was able to walk into them. So for us coming in our own generation here, those who were here and have fought for us and opened doors, we have to remember, this month is Black History Month. And why is it Black History Month? When slavery was abolished and the Constitution was amended in 1915, history was made. African Americans who were blacks then now realize the need for them to organize, just like we're doing now. Their women have to get organized. Their youth have to get organized. Their senior citizens have to get organized. Things were not just going to be handed to them. We are coming in now. If we don't get organized, when we become a senior, where are we going to go? Where will our children look back to? I look at that Black history. It teaches me a lot because I got to leave my footprints here when I leave. And I'm challenging all of you. When you celebrate Black History Month with all the activities that go on, think about your own history. What are you going to leave behind? What are you going to leave for your children? What would others say an African woman used to live here? What did they do? You just own a big house and drive a big car? That was all you did? No. So I challenge you in this Black History Month to do something that creates your own history. The theme for this year is Black women in American culture and history. I can turn it around. African women in American culture and history. We have to make our own history. I'm sorry. For me, I'm making my own history. I'm connecting with the people that want to connect with me to make that history. We have to make our own African history that we were here. We have to leave something behind. Our children must know when they read your biography, they say, wow, my auntie left so and so. I can follow that trail. When your children read your bio, they say, wow, my grandfather, look at what he did. That's what the African Americans are celebrating. What are we, our children, going to be celebrating? That's my challenge to you. Thank you very much.
Rachel say, girl power. She's making history. I hope we all are trying to make our own history. Are we going to try from now on? Yes. 2012, November, are you guys ready and fired up? Are you ready to go?
We're going to keep doing the work that the president started and that we've all been working on. And then our third big goal is got to be to go to other states. You know, as I said, we won Maryland by 26 points. I'm confident we're going to win Maryland again. I know that we can do it. And what we've got to do is we have to work in other states as well. How many people here know somebody in Virginia? Or Pennsylvania? Or Florida? Okay, New York. Everywhere, yeah. Sylvester knows somebody everywhere. I can't name a state that he hasn't been able to identify somebody in. But we've got to do our part here in Maryland, but we've got to help other states too. Assuming there's no traffic, which is a big assumption, we can be in Virginia in half an hour. That is a key swing state for the president. It is really hard for us to get 4 more years of Barack Obama without Virginia. If we don't get Virginia, it is really, really difficult for him to get reelected. It's one of those must-win states. So we here in Maryland have to do everything we can here, but then we've got to get in our cars, we've got to get on Metro, we've got to get in buses and head into Virginia and talk to voters there and say, look, I'm voting back home in Maryland. I'm supporting him there, but we need your vote here too. Your vote really counts. And there is a big, as you all know, and Sylvester's, we've been working on identifying, there's such a large growing continental African population, especially in Northern Virginia. And we've got to be able to go into that community and talk one-on-one. I'm not the right guy to do that. You are. And we've got to make sure one of our big goals, and Sylvester may have already mentioned this, Operation Vote is one of the things the president's campaign has launched. We all are part of that. Operation Vote is the goal of getting people to talk to other people just like them. Because the best way to get a young Latina to vote is to have another young Latina speak to her and say, this is what matters to our community. The best way to get an older, retired white union worker in Ohio to vote is to get an older, retired white union worker in Ohio to talk to him and say, hey, these are the issues that matter to us, and this is why we need to be voting for the president. And so that's why I'm so glad that Sylvester and Joseph and others have put together the Operation Vote team here in Maryland that's focused on the continental African community. Because the best way that we can win those votes in Northern Virginia is if we all go together and we talk about the issues that matter most. And if we can identify one-to-one with somebody and make that connection and say, this is why I support the president, will you support him too? And those are the three big things that we want to accomplish here in Maryland. We've got to make sure we win big. We've got to build for the future and make this a movement. We've got to help other states. And so we're going to be running phone banks and canvases. I can tell you on March 3rd, 2 Saturdays from now, mark your calendar, 2 Saturdays from now, we're going to be running carpools from right here in Prince George's and from all over the state to go into Northern Virginia and register voters there and start talking to people about why this election is so important. We need to start going into Virginia and talking to our neighbors here in Maryland and saying, getting Barack Obama reelected is important for many reasons. We've got to talk about his record. Passing health care reform is one of those things that is going to, decades from now, when our children and our grandchildren and their children start, when they read history, they're going to learn about the fact that President Obama passed health care reform that made it to where no person could be denied for a pre-existing condition. Made it to where nobody could be kicked off for having hit the lifetime cap. Who made it to where no young person is going to be without health insurance just because they can't find a job. The fact of the matter is, anybody who here knows somebody under the age of 26? Everyone, there you go, 3 of them, there you go. So this is for you. But the fact every person in America knows somebody is either under 26, has a kid that is, has a grandkid, has a niece, has a nephew. Barack Obama made it to where any person up to the age of 26 can be on their parents' health insurance. That is big. That is really big. I have a younger brother who right now, he's out of college, he worked like crazy to get a good education, he came out, it's a bad economy, he's struggling to find a job. He's still on my parents' health insurance. He's not afraid that if something horrible happens to him, he's going to be in the poorhouse before he ever gets his first job. So we've got to make sure that we're talking about those things that are dramatically changing America for the better. We've got to talk about the fact that this president is fighting harder to put people back to work than any president has ever fought before. And yet the economy is still really tough, but it's getting better. We've had 23 straight months of job growth, the longest stretch in decades. And we've got to contrast that with the other side. And this is one of the things Sylvester asked me to talk about. You know, it is one thing to be really proud of the president, and I think this is a president who we all should be incredibly proud to call our president. But we've got to also contrast it with the other side. Mitt Romney, Newt Gingrich, Rick Santorum, Michelle Bachmann, Herman Cain, all of those, I'll be nice, all of those opponents, they are wrong for America. These people do not have our best interests at heart. And I don't mean our continental Africa, I mean America's best interests at heart. Unless you're part of the 1%, they don't represent you. These are people that, you know, Mitt Romney is a man who made $250 million, $250 million in the 80s and 90s, telling companies how to save a few dollars. And usually the answer was ship jobs to Mexico and ship them to China. Take jobs away from people working right here in America and ruin their families and their livelihood and their chance of ever sending their kid to school. The American dream is under assault by the Republicans right now. The reason that many of you probably came to this country, the reason that my Irish great-grandfather came to this country, Mitt Romney and the Republicans and the Tea Party, their goal is to take that away and to make it easier for that 1%. And we've got to contrast the fact that Mitt Romney is worth $250 million because he spent the 80s and 90s taking jobs away from Americans. And we've got Barack Obama waking up every day in the White House. And the first thing that he's focusing on is how do I put more Americans back to work? How do I make it easier for parents to send their kids to college? How do I make sure that if somebody gets sick, they're not in the hospital and can't pay their bills? How do I make sure that somebody that comes to this country has a pathway to citizenship, can make sure that they're getting the same chances in America as everybody else? How do I make sure that when companies are doing things that are hurting our environment, that we're able to respond to that? He's thinking about how do we make sure that people that are coming out of school have the best education that they can have, the education that everybody expects you to get here in America, and the other guys aren't. And so our job is to be incredibly proud of the president, to do everything that we can here in Maryland to win here, to build for a long future, to help make sure that we're helping our neighbor states, but also to make sure that we can contrast with the other side. Because we've made amazing history. Electing Barack Obama, I got started with Barack Obama five years ago today. I don't know, 5 years ago yesterday. It was the first time that I did something for Barack Obama, February 17th of 2007. When everybody was still calling him Barack Obama, and nobody knew who he was. This has been a long road. And what we did on November 2nd, 2008, we all should be incredibly proud of. That is something that will go in the history books, and I think when we look back, it'll be up there with the election of John F. Kennedy and Franklin Delano Roosevelt and Abraham Lincoln and George Washington. But what happens this November is more important. What happens this November is much more important. It is one thing to make history and get Barack Obama elected, to get the first black president elected, to get somebody who everybody said had no shot at getting elected. That was history. But the bigger history is saying we want him back for 4 more years. And that is what we don't want our children or our grandchildren or their children to read in the history books. Yeah, this guy Barack Obama got elected in 2008, but 4 years later, the Republicans came in and swept him out. That was a blip. That was an accident. That wasn't supposed to happen. What we want is for them to read that in 2008, Barack Obama got elected, and that made history. And then 4 years later, Americans came together from every walk of life and said, this man is the man that we need leading our country for 4 more years. And that it ushered in a wave of American history that led us to prosperity. And it made sure that everybody had a chance to achieve the American dream. And so that's what I'm asking you to do today. Make sure that the next 261 days, every day, spend a little bit of time thinking about what can I do? Who can I talk to? How can I make sure that what I'm doing today helps get our president back for 4 more years? And together, with people in the room here today, with the Women for Obama event that's in Howard County today, with the Southern Maryland for Obama event in Prince Frederick today down in Tyler County, with the thousands of events that are happening around the country. Together, we're going to make history. So thank you all for what you're doing. Thank you, Sylvester. And thank you for having me today.
I hope you guys did. We just want to thank you all for coming. And we want to thank you all for staying this long. Yes. We have our next speaker here. He was stuck in traffic. So thank you all. Yeah, very bad traffic, he said. Okay, before I introduce our next speaker, I just want you all to know that what we do and what we're going to be doing in 2012 and beyond. The Continental African Leadership Council, we have meetings every first Saturday of the month. The next meeting is Saturday, March 3rd, 2012, 12 p.m. And we have this meeting currently at 4920 Niagara Road, Suite 100 in College Park. Has anybody here been to the meetings? Yeah. Raise your hands if you've been to the meetings before. Okay, so we're encouraging you to come to the meetings, and the reason why we're doing this is because for the 2012 election and beyond, we really want to engage the African community. And that's why the Continental African Leadership Council is here to support the African community. I don't know if anyone had questions and answers. Did anyone write any questions? There were index cards on the table when you came in. If you don't have any questions, you can still email Sylvester if you have his email, or when we contact you and you have questions, you're all more than welcome to email 2008. He has also served as the Maryland Democratic Party's political director in 2009 to 2010, and now he's the Maryland Democratic Party executive director. Ladies and gentlemen, stand up and welcome David Sloan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Claudia. Very much. Yeah, it's a blessing to have the job that I have, even though I'm only 14 years old. I know I get a lot of comments about just having my braces off, but yeah, it's been a wild ride for the last 6 years, and there are several different things that I want to cover quickly, but I want to make sure that the clearest picture of what the council, what the Continental African Leadership Council represents is painted. In 2008, across the state, across this country, volunteers or activists, folks across neighborhoods, across states woke up, and we all joined a huge movement to elect Senator Obama. Never before in the state of Maryland did we see such dedicated activism. And in Maryland, we're a blue state. So we had all of this energy that we could concentrate into sending out into Virginia and Pennsylvania. We had all this energy to make over 4 million calls to over 15 battleground states across the country. All of this energy to make democratic activism in our state stronger, but when the election was over, after we had made 4 million calls, and we had sent 5,000 people, many of you, to Virginia and Pennsylvania, there was nowhere for everyone to go with their desire to stay active. And so I went up to the state party and I worked for then Travis Taslar, who was the ED from 2009 to 2010, and the chair then was Susie Turnbull. And we took a look at the party and we asked ourselves, what is the Maryland Democratic Party lacking? What infrastructure should we have in place as an organization that doesn't exist? And so we asked ourselves, what is the role of a state party? And every state has a Democratic organization and a Republican organization. And of course, we fall underneath the Democratic National Committee. The leader of our party is, of course, the governor, Governor Martin O'Malley, and then we have Democratic leaders like the Lieutenant Governor, Senator Cardin, Senator McCoskey, all our congressionals. They all are masters of our party. But were we building, or were we an organization that was built to support them in the way that we should have been? No, we weren't. And the reason why we knew that is because when the election was over in 2008, everyone who wanted to continue volunteering had no place to go. They had no real program, no real organizational arm to hold on to with the party and claim the party as part of their own. And the belief that we wanted to start to cement in the hearts of everyone who wanted to get involved is that this party is your party as much as it is the governor's party or the president's party. You're Democrats, or you go and vote, or you're here at this meeting, you should have an impact on what goes on with the party, what decisions are made, and what direction it goes into. But we didn't have a mechanism in place to capture your opinions, to capture your talent, your skills, and put it to get used to build a party. So immediately, we decided to build programs that would last beyond whomever was a staff member at the Maryland Democratic Party. So the first thing we asked ourselves was, are we able to communicate with each other in helpful and successful ways? Are we able to push back against Republican lies and misinformation that we so often hear day after day, month after month? And so then we decided to start to build the Maryland Democratic Party Rapid Response Program. It would be a program that would empower volunteers with facts about what Democrats are doing here in Maryland, what the president's record is, and we'd ask Democrats on the ground to make sure you were having conversations with others who didn't know what Barack Obama had accomplished. We needed folks to write letters, to call into talk radio. And from 2009 to today, we have accumulated a list of over 6,000 rapid responders across our state. And if you want to join that program, all you need to do is get Sylvester your information. He'll get it to me, and we'll make sure that you're looped into what's going on a regular basis. So that was communications. And that was easy. But then the question was, what about every community in the state that gets involved but has no real representation in the state party? What about real organized efforts by Latinos, by African Americans, by Asian Americans, by continental African Americans? And we realized that we had no caucus system or no ability to make sure that your input was feeding into the overall decision making. So we decided to fix that. And we started a pilot program last year. We called it the Diversity Leadership Councils. And last year, people from all over the state joined the councils. Thousands of people got involved through their own communities and took hold of what the campaign was doing on the ground. Never before have we had access to resources and lawyers and just intelligent people who made our campaign stronger. I think over the course of last year, we made over 2.1 million calls. Hundreds of thousands of volunteer shifts were made. And of the of all the councils, cumulatively over 100,000 were filled. But the Continental African Leadership Council filled over 20,000 of those from this group. And that would have never happened if we had said to ourselves, we need to make sure that everyone has access to the party. And then we took a step further last year where we amended our bylaws to make sure that this program, that every council is recognized officially by the Maryland Democratic Party, that at state Democratic Party meetings, there is a representative from this community and this council who is relaying concerns, ideas, and what the effort needs to be for this community in respect to the Maryland Democratic Party. That now exists.
Again, God the message we've been fed today with what we need to do to re-elect President Obama, our brother President Obama. He's going to be 2 terms president. Whoever it is. So now we are serving refreshment. When we go out towards the left, we're going to have 30 minutes break. Refresh ourselves.
How are you doing?
Fine.
Good to see
How
you.
you feel being here today?
I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah,
It's
well,
a beautiful day and a great crowd.
Yeah, we get the message, but white African people that going to watch this video had to be convinced about to choose President Barack Obama as their leader.
Why do they have to be convinced?
Yeah.
I don't think they do. I think most Americans know that this man, has done an amazing job as president. Has had an incredibly hard road going. Came in at one of the hardest points in American history, and has done his best to make the best of it. The economy is doing much better. We've got 23 months of straight job growth every month, and it's still tough. There's still a lot of people out of work, and we've got a lot of work to do. But we've got to make sure that we're moving forward and not backward. And I know that President Obama is the guy. The reason that the continental African population is so strong for President Obama, he's a president for all Americans, and I think for the first time we've got somebody who really represents America's diversity and the idea of America as a melting pot from all over the world. And I think a man who had his mother came from middle-class Kansas roots, and a father from Africa, grew up in Hawaii, moved to Chicago. I mean, he really represents the great melting pot that is America, and the idea that I'm descended from Irish immigrants. Everybody in the country is descended from somewhere else, and I think this president represents that in a way that no one else has.
Good evening.
So, another day, what do you think about the event this evening?
Yes, we were thinking of coming in together as a group, African for Obama, so that we will have our voice there and we make sure that this election is not a big deal to Obama, but for us to give him all our support.
But all the world today, even in Africa, they are looking more about women. You as African women here, what do you really expect for this campaign?
Thank you. Our best organization is I have an organization called African Women Organization Unity here in the United States. What we are doing as a woman, as a mother, we try to bring our culture into our own home and develop Africa.
What do you expect for President Obama this too?
Well, we hope President Obama is going to be our voice, being part of us and being part of Africa.
The last word, the last advice for those who was not here with us today, will you tell them?
What I will encourage them to do is to give us a call, tell us whatever they want to. Our office is ready and we need to work with every one of them.
You give us your name again.
My name is Ajia Silifa Jalanriwaju from the Organization of African Women Union.
Even though one of them has spoken, Mrs. Jose, Mr. Michael Obuta, some of us do not know him. He's always on suit, but today he's like an alhaji. So could you stand up for us? Okay. And Mrs. Jose, please stand up again. We need to really, please stand up and give them an applause. It takes bravery. Thank you. It takes bravery, boldness to step out. For them to come up, I mean, these are things many of us look as if it's unattainable. And I believe, God, that in the next attempt, there is no, you actually said it, you just introduce yourself, you launched yourself. And that is the essence of this council. That's what the state party has given to us to breed our own. It's for us to be able to, have our own candidates. I mean, continental African candidates like them. I was telling someone, I said, sometimes we are like a bus driver. And I want you to picture what I'm talking about. A bus driver has always been picking, dropping, picking, dropping. When does he come down? You understand? So we need to have our own candidates. Because there is always a question that will come to me, what have they done for us? They use us, they dump us. No man on earth will use me and dump me. Amen. Because I'm a principality of my own. Amen. You understand? Because sometimes when we hear principality, we think it's a devil. Principality is authority and power. You understand? So nobody's going to use me and dump me because I am a principality, you are a principality. But the point is, they understand who you are. The scripture says, they that know their God will wax strong and do exploit. When you know who you are, nobody will use you. Amen. But our problem is involvement. Coming out. Talking to one another. I have 3 kids. You understand? All born outside Nigeria. Getting back there is just follow me, and I believe they're not going to stay there for a long time. They are not fully connected there. Even myself, I came back from Nigeria 3 days ago, on the 14th, Thursday. You understand? I'm not fully connected there because when they see you, it's like you're a threat. You know what I'm talking about. Amen. Then our kids that are born here speak the language, eat the food, dress like them, everything like that, are not, I'm saying the truth, fully connected. So what is going to happen if we just keep watching this? You understand? Vote governor, vote the president, they're going to be there, but we want our own candidate. And the only way we can achieve that is by getting involved in things like this so that we can produce our own. It could be your daughter tomorrow, it could be my daughter tomorrow, but we need to show them the way. We need to encourage them. A lot of them are lawyers. At the end, they are serving in another law firm, another clinic. The best most of our people expect is an office job. I work for Steady Hoya. I work for so you get a job. But we need to think beyond getting a paycheck. We need to think beyond getting a paycheck. You hire them, they recognize you. Governor Martin knows me very well. You know me well. I can come to you tomorrow and say, hey, I own a security company. I need me a contract. It only satisfies me. But how about the community? Amen. That's right. So we need to think beyond that. It's not about me. It's not about the job I get tomorrow. After that job, and anything can happen. You'll be fired on one way or the other. But we need to think about laying a legacy. There's a quote I love so much, and I think Mr. Say you said that. He said, history, John F. Kennedy, Thomas Jefferson. He said, history shall be fair to us, for we shall write history. Would you ever think of writing history for your children? So, this is not about me, not about Mr. Say, not about the council. One problem we Africans have, including me, is trying to do our own little big stuff separately. Competition. I was driving one day, because sometimes most of my inspiration comes when I'm driving and doing something, and this came to me and said, when God asked Moses, go and tell Pharaoh, let my people go. At that generation, there are lawyers, there are doctors, there are engineers, there are everyone who could say, no, I am the most qualified. Even the Moses himself said, I am not qualified. You understand? God asked, why me? I'm a stammerer, I cannot. But because of the force, the gravity, the lawyers and doctors, everyone come together, the engineers, traditional rulers, that enabled him, even when he told Pharaoh the first one, but God was already softening Pharaoh's heart. But it's still going to happen. Pharaoh let my people go. He did not resist. There is power in unity. Amen. There is power when you, from Kenya, and I am such a person, I came from a family of 11, I said it before, I'm the last born, I'm the last child. My wife knows, she is seated here. In my family, my mother will cook and bring the dish for everyone, and she will call it survival of the fittest. Fight there, get your food, if you're satisfied, fine. You know, in other words, we need to work together, and nobody messes with the Okere family. Nobody. We fight together, we live together, we love together. Nobody. I came from a very large family. My uncles have 4 children and so on. So we are so big. So in other words, to make the story short, we need to get unified. Are you Cameroonian? Are you Senegalese? Are you Nigerian? I don't care where you come from. Come, let us work collectively. This is a synergy.
we are working. After President Obama, no politician will ever joke with us if we are unified. That's right. But if you are doing your own thing, and I'm doing my own thing, it's about pleasing and getting a check and getting a job, they will play us. That's the secret why in Africa we stay fighting today, because they did it. They know how to deal with us, to have their guns. And if we keep doing our own differently, we are just playing around. But when we say enough is enough, let's unify. They will first of all lay out their blueprint before we can select who we want to support. So I am so happy that we all came here. It's not about the multitude. Each and every one of you are leaders. We only call leaders because we are planning another event that we're going to launch out statewide. That we're going to need multitude, students and everyone. Everyone here is a leader in your community or one thing or the other. I'm so impressed. I'm so happy. Time not going to permit me to call names. People like Mr. Franklin Akinkoye, he is the chairman of the African Business Owners. Sir, I bow for you. Thank you for coming. Dr. Lupeju. Ms. Zena, frankly, when I was coming from Nigeria at the Nnamdi Azikiwe airport, I met this nice guy, outside guy. He looked young like me, but frankly speaking, he's been in this country since 1979 when I was even in primary school. So we were talking about this and so on. It's okay, I'm going to connect you with the Zamuta Association. That's the Islamic Association in Washington, D.C. I said, I need to know them. So I called one of my friends who worked with Voice of America. He said, okay, when I get to the office tonight, I'm going to text you the name. Early morning, I saw my phone. It was Zena Chini. I said, wow, let me call her. And her name popped up. That's somebody I already know. She and myself, we already know each other. And I'm so glad that you walked in, man. We need your network. The gentleman here, Nigerian residents, we need your network, each and every one. And this man has been doing tremendously. He is the principality in Montgomery County. I thank God for you. Thank you. So please, let us, and thank you, sir, Mr. Miranda. So time will not permit me to say everything. We need to work together so that these two individuals, because they have already launched out, the next time they go, all they needed last time was 2,000 votes, right? So was it the same you needed in your council?
I was short by about 300.
Okay, but I mean you needed about 2,000 votes. Okay, and you see that in Prince George's County and Montgomery County, I don't think we should compete with anyone. Amen. They got it easy, but the problem is that we are not there. And who complains? The Africans. See what they did to Latino. See what they did to the Jewish. See what those people have started organizing themselves, being together, having one voice. They still have problem inside, but when it comes to, that's one thing I like about America. I was watching CNN the other day. This guy is a Republican, but he returned from Iraq, and P.S. Morgan asked him a question about, well, I thought you are a Republican. He said, look, when I'm outside America, when I wear United States Armed Forces uniform, I am an American. It's not about independence. It's not about who you are. So we may have our little communities and stuff, but when it comes to issues that will help us to solve our community's needs, we need to come together and run with what is best. Thank you so much. And finally, I want to thank God for the two women here and that young man over there. I traveled to Nigeria on a business. Frankly speaking, things were running. I came back, like I said, on Thursday. So imagine what it is when you have people you can leave stuff away with. The Saturday they were doing phone banking, they were calling me, even though I was on a security detail over there, but I was receiving calls, chatting with them, and that is what it is. Let us learn how to rub shoulders. That's the problem, that's the secret that Africans will need to really pray to God to help us run away from. But it's not about me, it's not about you, it's about my children that are coming forth. Cost is going to be on me if there is nothing I did for them to survive. I can have my best car, live in Potomac, live anywhere I can, have the greatest everything, but if there is nothing they will follow, I will be the best idiot. If George Washington was thinking like us, we're not going to be in America. And that's what I told the government in Abuja. I said, look, let me tell you, that America we all run to. George Washington wasn't thinking like that. When you go to America and come back, what do you do for them?
Thank you, sir. Good. Very good. All right. How you doing? Great. Hi, how you doing today?
While people are checking the hands of the Lieutenant Governor, we still have program going on. We're going to introduce one person, and after that we have refreshment. So, I call your attention, please. I'm going to introduce Mr. Jason.
You want to get in?
State Director at Obama for America. He works as Special Assistant at the Office of the Secretary.
Well, I think this is a wonderful event. Anytime that you can get a community of interest, like whether it's continental Africans or other groups together to organize, to mobilize, to make sure that your voice is heard, not only in the political process, like elections, but also in terms of delivering programs and services to the community. So I'm excited that Sylvester and everyone has come together and have given me an opportunity to come and bring greetings and to participate in what they're doing. Thank you.
Another day, another time. We heard everything you said here. We are so proud of you, and we hope that, as you said, African people will come behind you this time, because we was not aware about what you was doing, most of us. Myself, I saw it on the internet, but I do not know who they was talking about. So if you want to tell us something more about the special event we are doing
today was a warm-up to get Africans to think of what we're doing here and what we need to do to keep our voices up, to leave a history for our children, to leave a legacy that when we're here, our children can always read on it. I spoke about Black history. We need to create African history while we're here. If we don't create it, nobody's going to do it for us. It takes on all of us, and what you are doing. You are creating African history. I want to create an African history. All of us need to create an African history. So we can always remember that we were here and we left something for our children to also play the history that we brought and we left here.
Yeah, my question always about women is that what do you us women expect for this President Obama campaign, African women?
For me as an African woman, I expect that I will first of all commit myself to work to get him re-elected and then put our agenda on the table in front of him. That's the first things first. We need to get him re-elected. We need to put our issues right front center. Because if we don't get elected, we don't have a chair in the room. If we get him re-elected, we have a chair in the room, we can be on the table.
Then what do you think African women have at least one or two as issue as immigrants here that you think President Obama can help them to solve and convince them to come and vote for President Obama for this term?
I think the number one issue is education for our children. The number one issue is education for our children. And that's the key thing, that we need to focus on education for our children and immigration issues. There are a lot of Africans here who also have immigration issues just like the Hispanics, and they're unaddressed. I see them every day. And I think that's a center front issue for us to get to the president. We have immigration issues. The visa lottery program, do you know it's on the table now for Republicans to cut it off? If they cut it off, that's a venue that Africans come to this country. If that's one thing we can support him for that's one thing. The visa lottery program needs to continue. That's one of the avenues Africans are able to come to this country. If the Republicans are able to take it away because of our inaction, then we lose. If you have no other issue, that's number one. We need to get President Obama to keep the visa lottery to continue. That's one way Africans can come here. So that's my number one issue. That's number one very strong issue.
Thank you. We know you are very committed and you are very powerful, and we are blessed having our people that are very active here. As you said, people are busy here just going to work, come back. We have to make history, like you say. We have to leave an impact here. Why do we have to leave for the generation that will come tomorrow, or we know tomorrow that there was African community living here? And we say bravo to you, because really you are very active, and as me, I'm seeing you as a model that we need to follow. So that was a wonderful speech you did this evening, and keep it up.
Thank you.
We always be around to try to make our president to have a second mandate.
Thank you very much.
It's all done here. As we were saying previously, we are here again to launch another meeting, another support from President Obama campaign to let people know what is going on, because we know most of our people are not coming out because of a lack of information. There's no way that African can stay behind. We need to be involved in this campaign, Obama, and to make President Obama re-elected, because anyhow, this election is going to help us as African. And like President Okero and other people were saying, Africa people must stand up and vote for President Obama, because we are in this country. We are not fighting only for ourselves. We are fighting for the generation behind. If people our brother and sister that come like a slave long time ago for us, we should not be here and have all this opportunity. The event is done here, but we still having more events coming up. We are here in Lago, Maryland, and we're going to show you guys more and more events. We are running until November the 2nd, and African Continental Leadership will be part of this event because, as we all said, we need to unite behind the President Barack Obama to help him to get this man there, not only for ourselves, for our children, for our generation, and for people that are coming after us. Afri TV was there to cover the event again for you, and we always be there to promote our continent. Dudu Teklengule is my name. Afri TV, Lago, Maryland.
And then